Good morning, everyone. Just waiting for people to join. Some of you I may know have spoken to in the past, but those who don't know, I am Jamie Maguire, the NASC Membership Manager, and happy to talk to you today about joining the NASC. We've got a really good panel. We've got the Membership and Compliance Committee Chair, Wayne Conley, with us. He's just going to talk briefly about the process and what the webinar is today. And then we've got two of our most esteemed auditors, Ian File and Alistair O'May. I'm going to talk about some of the pitfalls of the audit process and point out some things to you that you should know prior to you joining, and also to address any concerns you may have about joining the NASC. And we really hope that you get some benefit out of it. There's no slides, there's no videos and to watch. It's going to be a two-way thing. We'll be doing some talking, but we'll really want to hear from you, the potential members, and hear any concerns you have or any questions you have about the audit process. To start off, I'm just going to create a little poll for you to answer, just a bit of test the interactive facilities we have with Zoom. I'm going to launch it now. If you don't mind answering, it's all anonymous. We don't know who said what. And I'm going to launch it now. Okay, so this is the first question, which is, do you think the NASC application process is fair and transparent for all? So just click yes or no. Again, just be honest. This is what today's all about, your honesty, so we can actually talk to you about any concerns you have. There's a second question as well. Yeah, you can move on. Have you heard negative things about the NASC application process? Yes, no. And then the third one is, have you been put off applying for NASC membership due to negative accounts experienced by yourself or from others? Yes or no. So I'll just leave that up for a few seconds. Those participants joining us can, the numbers are slowly going up. I'll just share those results. So as you can see, yes, the majority of people are saying they think the application is fair and transparent. 50-50, whether they've heard negative things about the application process. And also personal negative accounts. Some have experienced, some haven't experienced. So it's good to know, really good to know. So thank you for being honest. There is another poll coming on later on. So I'm going to move on to the first part, which is to introduce to you the Membership and Compliance Chair, Wayne Conley, who's also an NASC officer. He's the Vice President. So Wayne, you'd like to join us?
I'm here. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. This is the first of many webinars that we're going to do and produce for membership, both contracting membership and other types of membership. Obviously, we're more than fully aware that what's gone on in the past and negative thoughts of the NASC, some could be founded and some's unfounded. And today's really is to set a line in the sand to explain the process, explain the criteria, and explain the costs and also the benefits of becoming an NASC member. Yes, I'm a contracting member. And I'm Vice President, going to be President next November. I'm an officer and director, not only for NASC, but also for CISRS and ACITO. So I sit on the board and as a non-executive director, and that's mainly to make sure that the membership is represented with the executive directors and the people who work within the NASC, because the NASC is owned and managed by the members. It's really important that we get that across. It's for the benefit of every member who joins us, and every member can join the council, can join committees and have their say. It isn't a cartel, it's not a closed shop. And we just want to get that across today. The NASC has changed in the last 5-6 years and is continually changing and evolving, and we just want to get across the clarity that the process and the clarity of that process. All the audits are done by independent auditors. We don't have any paid staff within the NASC. No contracting members go out to visit your premises anymore, and that stopped maybe 2-3 years ago, certainly three years or so ago. So contracting members in your area don't come out to visit you, or regional chairs don't come out to visit you. This is all a process. You apply, and in fact, the council don't actually know you're becoming a member until you finish the process and you're accepted, and then you're sort of welcome to the council, if you like. So no contracting member, including myself, or even other officers and directors, get involved with that process from cradle to grave, and we get notified at the end of it. So it's really important that we get that across, and hopefully today that'll change a few mindsets, and change the way that you hopefully will feel about joining the membership, and how easy it is to actually become a member. I mean, I've heard all sorts about how you become a member and how difficult it is. And well, we all they have a panel of people sit in a dark room, and if they don't like you, or if they want to protect their own area, then they don't let you in. That's not true. It really isn't true, and it's certainly not true going forward. So it's meet the criteria. It's not a huge criteria. It's a set of minimum standards that, to be fair, all scaffolding companies should be doing anyway. There's nothing difficult in there. There's nothing tiresome. There's nothing laborious. There's no reams and reams of paperwork you have to do. It's just minimum standards, really, that most scaffolding companies should be doing, and probably are doing. And it's important. The last thing I'll say is the process is that you don't get a fail on the process. What you get is an action plan to actually, in a reasonable time frame, to actually put the action plan into place. So we really are here to hold your hand and to get you through the membership, and to get you to join. And hopefully you see a huge benefit with what you get offered to be part of the member. And hopefully somebody, if not yourself, the owners, directors, key managers, health and safety managers, can then get involved with the NASC and have your say. Help us write the documents, because all the documents are written by members, TG20, SG4, and you get a lot of negativity from contracting members when you get together and on some stuff, and they go, oh, it's job for the boys, and SG4. You have an opportunity here to join the NASC, join the committees, and have your say, change your industry for the better, for the future. So enough from me, really, as a contracting member and vice president. I'm going to be in the background listening to what's going on. Obviously, I've got a vested interest in it. I want to see the NASC flourish. I want to see it grow, and I want to see more members. No doubt about it. More members across the UK of all sizes, no matter what size you are. You meet the criteria, you can join. Fact. And that's the message we want to get across today. So thanks for your time. I know it's an hour or so of your time, and hopefully we can change some of the doubts that you've got at the beginning of the poll on the 50-50s, and we can get a bit more in the 70-80% at the end of today. Jamie will, after this, if you ask any questions, will give you my email if you want it. You can even have my contact number. If you have any questions to me personally as a contracting member or as a vice president, I have no problem answering them, and they'll be honest and straightforward answers. So enjoy today. It's the first of many. So also be kind, because it is the first. So there's no real structure to it, except there's going to be questions, and the auditors will be talking about the process. And be sure to ask some questions, please. Thank you for your time, and hopefully I'll look forward to the polls at the end. Thanks.
Brilliant. Thanks, Wayne. Just stay on for a second, because I do want people to ask questions. There is, for those who aren't used to doing Zooms, there is a Q&A at the bottom. Oh, here we go. That's my question. This is from Tom Jury. Other than the prestige history, what differentiates NASC from the Scaffolding Association? So that's a question that's asked. I'll answer that one live. That's asked quite a lot. Do you want to talk about that one, Wayne, or do you want me to?
Yeah, no, that's fine. Well, the glaring obvious the difference between them is that everybody who joins the NASC is a audited member. That means they go through the criteria process of joining. So it's a minimum set of standards. So we make sure that everybody in the NASC, when joining the NASC, has a minimum set of standards, and they adhere to their minimum set of standards. And they're audited every 2 years, and they have a desk audit every other year. So there's the glaring obvious statement. The NASC second one is, I talked about the committees. The NASC, all the paperwork and all the regulations or the self-regulations that we have within the NASC, including SG4, TG20, which are the two big ones, are written by the NASC members. TG1 that's just come out about the handrail. How many times have you, as contracting members, driven past a flat roof or a commercial installation, and you've seen all sorts of handrails and you wonder how they get away with it? Well, TG1 was written by the NASC, tested by the NASC, paid for by the members of the NASC, and endorsed by the HSE, and welcomed by the HSE to bring in. So the NASC changes the shape and the future of scaffolding for everybody, and it affects everybody. And if you're not in the NASC, then you don't really get that say. And that's a huge benefit to the members. So TG20 and the TG20 portal and the e-portal that you get as a massive discounted membership rate to be part of the NASC is a huge benefit as well. So there are huge, massive difference between the two organizations, and we don't see ourselves as a competitor to the Scaffold Association. We are the NASC. There is other associations around the UK, I'm believed and told, and we concentrate on what we do, and that's to change the future, have a say in the future, the training and the scissors training as well. CPD, which is massive. We were one of the last industries really that didn't do CPD. It wasn't popular when it came in for obvious reasons, but I don't think anybody in the cold light of day would dispel the fact that CPD is a real positive step forward to making sure that operatives are trained. And a lot of scissors card holders aren't NASC members, you know, so scissors is across the industry, including Scaffold Association members. And yet, you know, scissors is the card that's accepted by the end user, the majority of the end users, the principal contractors. And again, that's NASC's involvement in the TG20, allowing, you know, scissors to be able to have a training course and to be able to benchmark, well, what are we training against? Without that, we wouldn't have anything. So these obviously others membership benefits, and you'll be able to see today what makes us different. I think the biggest one for a contracting member is you get to have your say. You can have your say within an organization that's been going now for, I think we're 80 years old next year. So big milestone for us. Hopefully that goes some way to answering it. And then at the end of today, or at the end of this webinar, you'll be able to see what the difference is.
Another question just come through. We submitted the first application last year. Although we received the first email response, we didn't hear anything back and assumed we may have been blocked by an existing member. Is there a long wait to be accepted into the process?
Do you want me to? I can do that, and then you can talk about how long the process is. So no, you weren't blocked by a member. That's fact. I can tell you that now is that I've been. We used to be called the audit membership. The audit committee, and we changed it to the membership and compliance because we have different members now, and the compliance bit is just making sure that the criteria is met. So I can tell you, you weren't blocked by another member. Other members do not know. They're not aware of who is joining the process and who is in, if you like, the pipeline from the minute that the process that they go through, which Jamie will talk about in a bit. So no, that's definitely not happened. It's not been a regional chair either that's blocked anybody. If you've not been contacted on the original email, then that has to be a system fault from our point of view, which we'll look at. We'll take your details and we'll look into that. we do have a process, and the process has been tightened up from the minute that somebody applies or tries to apply, and the minute that first email or that first application comes in, and that whole process has been tightened up and shortened. It used to, in some ways, and I'll be honest about it, it used to take longer than what we would have liked, through some various hoops that people get to jump through. We've shortened that considerably by moving the initial process to the independent auditors rather than the NASC staff having to deal with the initial application. And that sometimes will be clogged down by how much time the initial staff would have. It's now from cradle to grave, other than the very start, it's all dealt with by the independent auditors, and they have more time than what the office does, and that shortened that process. So Jamie will just explain the rest of it.
Yeah. I mean, I just looked into. I've obviously seen who the registrations are for this webinar, and the person who's raised that. I don't really go into too much detail about who they are, the company, etc. But just to let you know that the initial interest in application was received, and we sent the request for payment for the process, and no payment was ever received, which is why. So you didn't even get. I didn't even get to look at it, let alone any members getting to look at it. Obviously, we'll have to look into why you didn't make payment, or why you didn't get the notification to make payment, and I'll follow that up after this webinar. I'll give you a call, and hopefully we can get that all moving if you're still looking to go through the process.
If there's no more questions, I'll sign off from my dulcet tones. In just let me just reiterate what I said at the beginning. This is a process. It is from cradle to grave. No members will be involved in your application in any way, shape, or form. If you are past the criteria, and the criteria is met, and the criteria is minimum standards, you will be an NASC member. Fact. I guarantee it. If it wasn't the case, I wouldn't be sat here. Let me tell you, I would not be sat here. So if there's no more questions, let's let the guys get on with it so you can see the rest of the process, and ask as many questions as you can.
All right, thanks, Wayne. And back to me. So I just wanted to talk to you about some of the benefits of membership before we start talking about the process. Just those who need to know, this information is on our website, nasc.org.uk. But the first question that's really asked, well, why do I want to join the NASC, apart from the things that we've talked about today, is this thing behind us, the logo. I think this logo carries a lot of weight. Yeah, it does open up a lot of doors for you for tender for works. There's lots of contractors coming on all the time. NASC is really focused on trying to speak to main contractors, clients, not just necessarily the tier ones on the Build UK, etc. It's all about the whole bandwidth of contractors available out there. NASC, it has to be NASC is a hashtag you may have seen on social media. That's part of a campaign we're pushing. So by gaining that accreditation and getting that badge to use, it really is that seal of endorsement. And I think that everyone should be proud to receive it, because it's not an easy process to join the NASC. It isn't going to be for everyone. We understand that, but it's for those who want to do things as best as possible. It's available to you. The discount itself that you save when joining as well on NASC publications is massive. I mean, you'll get a complimentary copy of the NASC guidance. Those the e-portal that features TG20, a complimentary one of those. I think the cost of that is £500 to £1,000. It's a lifetime use whilst a member, and you get up to 50% discount on all further publications as well. So lots of money to be saved there. Funding, we do lots of funding. There's £300,000 made available to members to claim for funding. We're talking about funding for scissors, COTS courses, but as well as those courses, there's mental health, training ex-armed forces. So there's lots of benefits there. As Wayne touched upon, access to shaping the industry, by joining the committees that put together SG4, TG1, TG20, they're all NASC members, and if you feel that, well, personally, I like SG4, but I think it could be better. I think we need to get rid of, this or that. Then why not join and join those committees, and you get to say and try and convince the rest of the committee members that this is how it should be, and use your experience and knowledge and give something back to the industry. So the only way to do that is to join the NASC. We currently offer free SSIP assessments to members. So that gets your foot in the door for all the PQQs that you're asked to complete. So if you get your NASC SSIP assessment through the NASC, you'll then be able to get SMAS, CHAS, construction line, and all these other things. Obviously, there are different levels. There's construction line gold and CHAS premium, etc. It doesn't get you those, but it certainly gets you up the ladder. And it's another sort of seal of approval that your safety and health policies, etc., are top notch. And also, we have a growing membership. We're not just here for full contractor members. We got design members, we got information members, we got services, ancillary product members, which range from consultants to people like CADs who provide software. And the incentive for them to join as SAP members is to offer you, the contractor member, value and return on investment. So that you get to basically plug into by meeting those at events, networking with them, emails. You call me up and say that, oh, I need some help. We need to find a better insurance, for example, or we need to find a new scaffold specific health and safety consultant. Then we can help you, and you tend to get better rates as a member as well. So there's that, and also attending the meetings, the regional meetings that we put on, as well as the flagship NASC AGM annual ball and awards, which is, you may have heard about, is the go-to night out for the construction industry, really. So you get to attend that, you get to enter an NASC award, and if you win an award or get shortlisted, you get a badge to say that and it all helps. It all helps with the end goal, which is to get more business and to better your scaffolding business. So I think there's a summary of most of it. There are more, and they're on our website. You can obviously give me a call and talk about it. We're completely open and honest. Just another question just come in now. It says, with the huge difference in size ranging of contracting members, does the NAC have anything in place to recognise safety and technical excellence from the smaller outfits, other than the dizzy heights of the Borland Awards? There are many smaller scaffolding contractors that do not have the operational capacity or resources to tender or carry out huge complex structures, but achieve excellence every day on the projects that they are capable of carrying out. That's a great question, stroke comment, Tom. Thank you for that. I think it's really important to note that the majority of NAC members are small to medium size. We did an exercise recently, and 60% of members turn over up to £2 million. And yes, the awards are glitzy and glamorous, but you look at some of the winners. We have a large category and medium and small. And what happens is, for Project of the Year, for example, you submit your award based on what you think is the best representation of the company, and based on your turnover, we would then put you in the small, medium, and large category. So you're only competing with fellow small companies, and large companies. Bill Fingers are competing with Altrad, competing with Enigma, for example, and the smaller companies, the majority of NAC members, and the mediums. Wayne, for example, his company are in the medium size. They would compete with fellow companies who are turning over, whatever the medium size turnover is, based on all the applications that come in. So yes, the awards are dizzy heights. I quite like that, but it's the event is much more than an award. It's a great networking opportunity and a great night to let your hair down. I think hopefully that answers your question, but again, happy to talk to you outside. I have just had a request to speak from one of our panelists. So as we're going to move on to the next section, I'm going to bring him in. That's Alistair. And Alison might want to just kick off talking. You want to say something about the question that come in, Alison?
Jamie, I was in. It was only because you mentioned it. You mentioned the yearbook, and as a former director of a former member company, one of the smallest companies ever, I believe, to be an NASC member, I was really proud to enter projects for that yearbook. I was never going to win awards. It was never going to be at the glitzy end of year ball, but I was still quite proud to get a mention in that yearbook and be part of it. And I think that's important. I can still remember the headlines, the small but mighty headlines in the yearbook. And I think that meant something to me. And I think that could bring a bit of equality to a lot of smaller members, smaller companies. That was all I was looking to add.
Yeah, thanks, Alistair. I think it's good. I mean, I'll give the instructions now. On Alice. Alistair is a former NASC member company. He ran a company called AOM Scaffolding in Scotland, and he stopped operating as a contractor, but 7 or 8, 10 years ago now. Alistair.
He's 10 years. 10 years.
Yeah, 10 years. Yeah. So that's why Alistair is available to obviously audit scaffolding businesses now. If he was still in the NASC as a company, then he wouldn't be an auditor, because he needs to be independent to do that. So Alistair's our Scotland-based auditor. We sometimes get him travelling into England. He doesn't like it very much, but that's why we do it. Send him there. Also, Ian File. I'll bring Ian into the panel now. Ian is our North Wales based auditor, formerly of Simeon Risk Management, but stopped working for that business 3, 4, 5 years ago.
August 2019, Jamie. July 2019, really.
1920. So yeah, like I said, 3 or 4 years ago, stopped there.
Yeah.
And again, is now an independent auditor. And hopefully one day we'll visit you guys who are watching today. So moving swiftly on to the next section, which is we're going to talk about the desktop part of the audit first. It's just been more conversational. Again, please do put your questions in at whatever time you want. There's no sort of real structure to it. So we'll begin. So one of the first things, I'll come to you, Ian, as we've just highlighted you, talking about the registered company details and certificate of incorporation. It's obviously one of the first things we ask for in an audit, and I just thought it'd be good to tell the watchers why it's important to be registered as a limited company and why we look for certificate of incorporation.
Well, one of the rules of the bylaws of the NASC is you've got to be a limited company, and you upload your certificate. We then download it from the portal and do a double check on Companies House. You will also, in that first section, explain who are your directors and shareholders of the company, and we will check that on Companies House as well. There is also some areas on the beginning of the portal which ask if you've got anybody who's disqualified from being a director, or have you changed your shareholders on directors in the last 2 years? And we'll have a look on Companies House, and we'll also check that the registration number that you put forward is the same registration number that's on your Companies House certificate.
Why is that important, Ian?
Well, it's important because sometimes people have changed the company names. You know what I mean? They've been ABC Scaffolding one day and XYZ Scaffolding the next day. Yeah. But you know, and it affects, because you've got to have 2 years worth of accounts for the NASC. Then the second you close one company and form the next one, you're back on the what we call the hamster wheel, really, aren't you, for those 2 years? And that's why we have to check that. Yeah,
the trading, as we have companies who are members who have a trading name, but the membership is given to the corporate entity that's registered on Companies House, and that has to be trading for 2 years and as a scaffolding business. But in the past, many years ago, our audit process was just given to the name, and as Ian's alluded to, some companies went into administration, unfortunately, but we didn't know anything about it. They set up a Phoenix company, and they're still trading as NASC membership. So the rule was introduced about the 2-year trading as a consequence of that. Section 2, it talks about the full accounts, and Alistair, we ask for Ian's really touched upon it, the 2 years full accounts. What does that look like, and what do you look for in the accounts?
See, well, it's a kind of follow on to the first question, really, isn't it? You've got to check the legal, it's the right legal entity that's trading, they're giving you the right information, the split, that's where it's highlighted, or it gives you your first clue, it gives me my first clue as to the PAYE and the subcontract split, because you can't, that is what it is. So that's a good source of information from there. It's certainly a clue. So you do need the 2 full years to show about a direction of travel as well. So that's the kind of thing that I look for.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note that we really look at turnover, because your subscriptions are based on turnover. The minimum subscription cost is £995 a year. And that's for companies who turn over no more than £1 million. And it goes up on the sliding scale up to 25 million. I think it's, and subscriptions for those are £12,000. So that's the scale you're looking at. And the majority of our members' subscriptions are around the sort of £2,500 per year. But we need your turnover to work out and calculate the actual amount that you'll be paying subscriptions. And the first year when you join, it's done on a pro rata basis, so you don't get for 12 months in advance. If you join in, like next month, for example, your first year you'd only pay from July through till December, and then you renew your membership subscriptions at the end of the year, and then you get to pay them by the February of the following year. Right, we're going to move on to insurance.
I just think there's one thing we need to just bring in about accounts as well. It's not accounts that are shared with anybody else. It's between the auditor, the portal, and also it's between you, the auditor, and the portal, shall we say. None of this information is shared. It's under the GDPR and the rules of the NASC, that the only people looking at it is us and maybe anybody who investigates the portal at a later date, but it would only be Jamie really who's connected to that from me.
Yeah, totally. No contracting members, no other NAC members looks at your financial details or how much you're charging for particular jobs, etc. Clearly, your accounts are available in Companies House anyway. You all know that, but no one, to be honest, cares about individual member companies' turnover, apart from myself and finance manager. Really, the auditors just make sure that the figures seem to be okay and have been filed and are as per the registration company. A question has just come in. We are a multidiscipline company. How do you calculate the scaffold element? That's a good question. We do accept multidiscipline companies. We have a few in the books. You just need to have your scaffolding section really separate from the rest of the business. So we don't care if you're installations or painters or roofers. We really do not care 1 ounce about what you do for that business. When it comes to auditing, everything you have to, all the information you submit, so insurances, financial information, it's got to be for scaffolding. So you're not expected to have accounts for the scaffolding division within the whole business, but you need to get your turnover declared to pull out the scaffolding element from the main accounts, and that can be done by your financial auditors and accountants can sign off that yes, the figures for 2023 turnover was 2 million. The group turnover could be 25 million. So, but that needs to be verified during the audit, and obviously that needs to relate to the amount of scaffolders. If you're turning over 2 million out of 25 million, but you've got 100 scaffolders, we might question that, whether that's actually legitimate, which is why we have the accounts, because it really helps. But you can apply for membership. It should put you off from being multidiscipline, but there's a few extra hurdles just to jump through that you may not be prepared for currently. But most companies who want to apply in the multidiscipline section, do go through the process and can get around it. Happy to talk to you outside of this in a bit more detail. Hope that answers that question. So it's talking about insurance. We stipulate minimum 5 million, 10 million for PL and EL, but the insurance is quite important, isn't it? Like actually having insurance for scaffolding duties rather than general construction.
Simply because it's high risk, isn't it? It's just a high risk activity. You can get insurance, lower cost, different things that has to specify the access, covers the access industry.
It's obviously more costly though, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's costly, but you have to be covered. And to be honest, when I'm looking at these things, I think back to being audited, to now being the auditor, and I'm looking to protect the company, and it's amazing. Every company's got a net, and things can be missed. Hopefully, not something as basic as insurance, but simple things can get missed sometimes. And part of my job, or I feel my job as an auditor, is to protect the members by being that extra set of eyes on different things like that.
Yeah, I agree there. I agree there, because we're not only just auditors. We do help with a bit of guidance along the way as well, because we've got experience of seeing what other companies have done, and we've got experience of doing things through our world of being owners of companies or being involved in training. We say, this is a good way, or not, have you ever thought of it? We can be a mentor at times as well, especially to new companies. I've found that when I've got a lot of new companies coming through and I've had to evaluate what they've put in the portal, I've wrote back with, questions of things, and they've come back to me with the answers, and they already knew what they wanted to do. It was just the way that they put it across.
Yeah, I think the mentoring is massive. It's such a key word. I think in the past we have been guilty of, sorry, computer says no, shut the door, come back, in 12 months' time. And we have reviewed all that, and we understand that companies need our guidance, and not just the NASC guidance notes but also how to do things the right way. The yard, and we'll come on to that. And the paperwork side of things, we understand that generally it's fair to say that people didn't really get into the scaffolding industry to write dossiers of guidance notes and policies. It's very much a labor-intensive physical industry, so we understand that the paperwork side of things can be a bit below par, but it doesn't mean to say that they are a bad scaffolding company at all. And I think it would suggest that we did used to think that way. And sorry, your health safety policy is not signed, go away. But now it's about just helping you. Right, this is what you need to do. Here's a timescale. You get your house in order and come back. We can obviously take the horse to water. We can't do it for you, but we can show you the ways that you are short, or where the areas you're short, and help you to get compliant. It's not about just making money and getting you to submit again, because lots of times, we extend the time scale to give you the benefit and the time to put the things in order. But we also go into great detail in the application process, the audit portal, to show you what it is you need to do. We try to outline clearly what we're looking for, but it doesn't always come in the way that we want to see it. So we work with you to try and get you over the line rather than, push you away. I'll talk about one of the biggest thing that a lot of companies, especially in the London South East region, might have trouble with meeting, which is our PAYE requirement. And I'll come to you, Ian. Obviously, NASC, those who don't know, we reduced our PAYE requirement down. It used to be 90%. It was reduced to 75% 7, 8, 10 years ago. I think when Alistair went, I think we reduced it. And we recently have been reviewing it. We spent a lot of money on market research. We spoke to members, we spoke to non-members, we spoke to the main contractors and clients out there. Not us, we're an independent media company did this for us, marketing company. And the results were, when they were asked, how important is PAYE, members thought, yes, it is important. especially in the northern Midlands and Scotland. You go down to London, all of a sudden, oh, it's not really important. But we understand that the London South East region is particularly big on CIS, agency subcontractors. So long story short, we decided to reduce the PAYE down to a term that we use, which is called predominantly PAYE. So as long as that, that translates to anything over 51%, we'll be happy with, as long as the company is trying to recruit new labour through PAYE rather than going to agencies all the time. So it gives you a bit more flexibility over your business, rather than be saying, well, we're going to fail our audit, or we can't join because the bar is too high. Because in the best world in the world, directors don't always have the say, whether their operatives go directly employed or not. Unfortunately, it's down to the individual. So, Ian, we talk about predominantly now. Obviously, there's a calculator that members have to complete now.
Yeah, there's a cracking spreadsheet that is now part of the portal, which is PAYE versus CIS, and you can just put your payroll of PAYE people in. In the next line, you can put the CIS payroll in, and over a 12-month period, it gives you a percentage. So if you're looking at the portal and you're looking to go through that, you want to be taking a first time out and adding what your PAYE is for scaffolders, and then adding your CIS together for scaffolders, and it will give you a figure of, are you above the 50%, are you below the 50%, and then you may need to wait a couple of months before you apply. But at this moment in time, I can deal with a company who's got, I've dealt with 6 companies in the past month. 2 are 100%, one's 85%, one's 52%, and one we've worked out at 32%. And the one at 32%, we've told to go back. The one at 52% will probably become a member in the next week. But as what has been said recently, that it shows that the NASC are listening to the wider scaffolding population and reacting to things and saying, down south, is a real tough audit, because once upon a time, it was 10 years ago, it would have been smoke and mirrors. You would have said, how many employed have you got? Well, we've got this many. How many self-employed? We've got this many. How many agency? And it would, you could have spent the full day just on the audit, trying to work out the employment status, because they were trying to achieve the 75%. But now this predominantly more than 51% is a big assistance, and it's created more applications.
Brilliant. Yeah, good answer. And what would you say? There's a question coming in, but I'll come to that in a second, Tom. When we say PAYE versus CIS, what is CIS? I mean, what are we including in that?
Well, we're including self-employed scaffolders, aren't we? For me, that's how I see it, is self-employed CIS paid scaffolders.
Agency?
Agency, yeah. I think you could say we always look at agency. We always look at the agency invoices. We always make sure that if you're employing agency, we look at the due diligence as well. I always look on my auditing of agency is, are they qualified scaffolders? Are they CPD'd? Things like that, because it's very, very difficult. I always look at how the company inducts agency scaffolders as well, because sometimes you can just get 3 people dropped in a town that you don't operate in to take a job down, and I want to know how you're going to manage that process.
Yeah. And obviously the retrospective period, the 12 months, that's the calculator gives us that information. It tells us where you can get compliant overnight, join the NASC, but that's not the way to do it. And it would be an unfair having a company join the NASC, and the previous 11 months they've been trading an unfair advantage against other members. So the 12-month rule was introduced for that very reason.
We look at the payroll as well, Jamie, and we look at the last 12 months payroll, don't we, to see that the people on the matrix that we've checked their qualifications to actually are being paid on the payroll as well.
Yeah, that information that we asked for is only available at time of site audit. You're not asked to upload that information just due to GDPR, etc. But the auditors will look at it on site. They don't take it away, don't share it with anyone. The information is secure, but it's got to be verified to make sure the claims that your 58% PAYE are substantiated. Just come to the question that's coming. It would be during the desktop process. He says we hold ISO 9001, 14001, and 45001, and utilize the management system to support accountability throughout the business. Will this contribute positively to the audit process? Do you want to answer that one, Alistair?
Sorry, Jamie. Yeah, absolutely. Will contribute positively because I mean that a lot of the checks are done. You go to a company with these kind of that signed up to these schemes, and they're already compliant. There's very little work for them to then comply with any NASC requirements, because you'll find that they've been audited. There was one company in particular I can think of, and it was the easiest, simplest, smoothest audit I've ever done in my life, because it was just automatic for them. He'd been through the process before with the ISOs, so it absolutely is a positive influence on the audit and on that process for sure.
It's not a prerequisite. I think there's one question that asks you, do you hold it? Do you hold one of those? I think it's the 45,001 in the environment, I think. And it just gives us a good understanding of the company. And as Alistair says, if you've got any of those three, it's great for a business to be doing that. I know it's not going to be available to everyone, but certainly 9001, most companies should be able to get that. And it's a good tester to when it comes to the NASC audit process, because you will have the things in place that you had to put to get ready for 9001. So anything that you hold, accreditations, they are great. They're not necessarily a prerequisite to joining the NASC, and vice versa. If you join the NASC, I think it would stand you a better chance to get 9001, 45,001 if you did it the other way around. Back onto personnel. I just want to talk about the obviously we have a 90% scissors carded operative requirement, which really should be 100%. There's no real reason why scaffolding companies applying and members should not hold CISRS cards. But we look for 50% qualified. Alistair, when you wear your other hat in the CITB, why is it important that we stipulate 50% of the workforce must be directly employed?
For me, I think personally, the 50% sounds quite a low number for me. But you do have to give companies, there's periods of time where the training, there's gaps where people are going through the process for training. So sometimes it's amazing just how quickly the compliance can fall. You've really got to be careful you do not get anywhere near the 50%. While the 50% is a line, it's one of the things I would always advise, if they are floating about anywhere in the kind of mid 50% range, is get that up. Get your trainees qualified as soon as you can, to ensure you don't fall below that line or at some point before the next audit. I know it's a difficult, especially for small, large companies have all got the same problem. But one thing I do notice when you get into companies, it's a job in its own, maintaining these cards, keeping on top of the training, understanding the scissor scheme. It can be seems quite a complicated card scheme at times for people if they don't understand it. And I get questions all the time about what does this mean and how do I do that? And it can be complicated. You've really got to understand the scheme to maintain that. And if you've got somebody within the business that does understand that scheme and is maintaining all the cards, they're usually worth their weight in gold. But the 50% thing, you've really got to try and stay well above that, because it broke
Yeah.
so quickly.
Well, where would you put SSPTS endorsements? So if you're auditing company, yeah.
Right. So this is what I say, because the rules are actually for product training. If you're in any systems training, you must have the endorsement on your card, and it's as simple as that. That is a rule.
You're talking about the two-day SSPTS course.
Endorsement there that goes in the back of the card. The kind of general rule I use, some people find that easier than others to maintain, and the kind of general rule that I use and I go by is a third. They're looking for one qualified person within the squad as a minimum. And again, that's at the minimum. You don't really want to be operating at the minimum, but that's where I draw my line, is the third. And I think
I think citizens would say if you're working on a layer or one of the other systems, and they escape me, then you'll thank you. Yeah, there are other systems available. Then you should have the endorsement on the back of your cards. There's it's all good well doing tube fitting, and that obviously I think that does look at systems during the training, but it is important to have the SSPTS endorsement on the back of your citizens card for that operative. If you're working within the system, that is, we will accept the like as I said, a third to be endorsed, but you'll be asked to make sure that the others are put through the courses as well. So when we come back, we'd like to see that number grow. Next thing I want to talk about, I'll come to you, Ian, is holiday pay. The CIJC working group agreement is something that we ask members to meet. And a few years ago, the requirement changed from how you average your holiday pay. It was over the previous 12 weeks. CIJC then decided to change it to an average of the 52 weeks. And then following suit, HMRC also decided to change the legal requirement for holiday pay to be 52 weeks. So how do you check that during the audit, and how important is it during the audit process?
Well, during the audit process, I ask the companies, the portal, they also have to say on the portal what the holiday pay is. And the third section is I review the contract of employment, because some days on the portal, somebody will say to me, they do 28 days holiday. So they do 20 plus 8 bank holidays. Then they will tell me that they do an average of 12 weeks, followed by I'll open the what we call the contract of employment, and that will tell me that they're then doing 29 days. So I'll have three different areas. So mainly I have to go and sit down with everybody and explain to them, and explain what the law says, and explain what the good practice is, and that's 50% of companies.
Yeah.
Even some existing members that are still not grasping it, and they go back to their people who do their employment law, like Barber or something like that, and the banks, and they still come back and contest it.
Yeah, it is something that is important, but you won't fail for it. You'll just be given well, you need to address that basically. I do want to get onto the side things, but just before we do that, with training, we talk about SG4, SG6, TG20, our flagship guidance notes that we ask to see evidence of. What's the best way for a company to demonstrate that they have trained in these 3 areas?
If you want me to answer that, I'm quite straightforward with that. What is acceptable to the NASC is if you have the booklets, you have the tear-off pages from the booklets that you've issued to your staff, and they're in their staff files, and maybe you scan them and upload them to the portal when you want to join. That for me means that you've taken the time out to get the booklets, and you've also taken time out to address that with a training session with your teams, on top of the training they've already done at the training centres. So we look for that to be a refresher. A lot of companies have a January stand down day where when they come back after Christmas, they have a 1-day refresher on the toolbox talks of TG20, SG4 and SG6 as well. So there's some of the good practices that we see.
Yeah.
Alistair, you want
Do you
to
want
ask
to add anything to add on that, Azza?
Nothing really, Jamie. As Ian said, it's pretty straightforward. It's the flagship guidance. It's the basic guidance. Again, minimum standard of information sharing with your employees, and the perfect is the books. I like the toolbox talks because it's an ongoing thing. That the books rely on. Well, the books just tell you the guys have been given it. It doesn't tell you the guys have read it and understood it really. But sitting down in a regular toolbox talk, and again you can see it with behaviour, especially with the SG4. You know, so you can highlight issues ongoing. If there's any non-compliance that you notice yourself during any site monitoring, you're looking for the company to pick that up and then deal with it in their own way by again. Targeted toolbox talks for things like that. That's the sort of stuff I look for.
But don't they cover TG20, SG4, SG6 in the Part 1, Part 2 courses?
Yeah, they absolutely do, and it's clear that it's a thing they need to understand. And I made that mistake myself years ago when I sent somebody away for the advanced training. I was doing a temporary roof, and they come back and they had a certificate and it says that they did a section of their training on the advanced course on temporary roofs. It does not mean they're trained in temporary roofs. It does not mean that we on the centres we do go through SG4. It's on every college block. You go over harnesses, everything else, but you're still, as an employer, it's still your responsibility to make sure each individual is trained on the specific requirements of your site, your job, your rescue plan. That's another one that can fall by the wayside. That's another one of my favourites is the rescue plan. So it's imperative that the company keeps up to date with that type of training, which is also why NASC produce the guidance.
Yeah, thank you for covering that. And just on health and safety consultants, obviously we're going in there, we're looking for the RAMs and policies, etc. How important is it to have competent scaffolding specific health and safety consultancy rather than like a generic health and safety consultant that you keep on a retainer?
I look at so much paperwork. I look at a lot of rescue plans. I look at a lot of risk assessments, and a lot of that I look at. Sometimes I think, I recognise that, and but I think scaffolding related safety people, they can get you through quite a lot with the NASC audit. They can get you through the paperwork and they know what to do. They can get you through the yard, and they could probably get you through the sites as well because they know what they're looking for SG4 wise, things like that. I've come across about 5 different companies that have applied for the NASC and paperwork has been fantastic, but they've constantly broke down on site because they don't believe they need to have anybody goes out on site apart from themselves. And I'll just give you one example. There was a job that was absolutely terrible, and it had been handed over by the charge hand scaffolder. It had been inspected by the visiting supervisor and also been audited by the safety guy. So the 3 of them had all looked at it. It had been up for 3 weeks, and it was the difference between them getting in the NASC and not being in the NASC, and literally they didn't get in. They were given away with an action plan because the scaffold was not built to any standard and a distinct lack of ties.
So it's really important to have someone who knows what they're doing. Obviously you can have internal people within the company who are competent to provide all the policies for them. We don't have to have an external guy, but there is obviously there's options out there, but definitely it's important to have someone who knows scaffolding to produce things, similar to when it comes to the designs, which is my final question on the desktop side of things. I know we have a question, we'll come to that in a second. How do we ensure that the scaffolds being built or designed are being built in accordance with EN 12811?
Again, the portal, I find the portal compliance sheets brilliant, fantastic. I actually wrote some notes.
TG20 compliance sheets, are you talking about?
Yeah, sorry, yeah, absolutely. Sorry, just you assume that everybody knows, but obviously they don't, and that's the thing. But as you were talking through the benefits at the beginning, Jane, I was writing some notes down. You know, you mentioned the logo, absolutely shouldn't underestimate the colour or the logo. But the e-portal for me is a huge step forward, because I know every company's using that, training providers are using that, everybody's got access to all the information as and when it comes up. There's no excuse for not having the access, the information at your fingertips. So proving compliance, TG20 compliance, with a compliance sheet is absolutely the way to go. Dead simple. It's either there, it either looks like a pretty picture or it doesn't, and you don't have to be hugely experienced now, to use the compliance sheets or to understand them. They're laid out really well. They've been improved recently with the recent update, and that's that's the easiest, simplest way of proving compliance. Either that, or you have to be really experienced and really knowledgeable to retain all that information. And if you can't prove it with compliance sheet, it's a simple design scheme that has to be prepared. So it's as simple as that, and that's the sort of stuff we're looking for.
Yeah. So you're looking for usage of the TG20 guide or an external consultant who's given the design. Brilliant. Okay, anything to add on that, Ian, before we move on from the paperwork line?
TG20 is a fantastic, you know, the e-portal is a fantastic way now. You can just go to the site and you say to people, have you got the compliance sheet? Have you got the design? Exactly, before you even go and look at anything, you know. And you go through the paperwork at the site, and it's everything. These days, scaffolding companies are really switched on. Most companies are now putting a work pack at the site, really, where it's just to give anybody a bit of guidance who's thinking here, is they put in the method statements, the risk assessments, the harness inspections, the qualifications of the guys who are on site. They have them all signed, they have the rescue plan, and they have the designs and the e-guides all in a folder, and you can just go into the site and say, have you got your paperwork? And lots of companies just deliver you that to you, and it's ideal, and it's got the changes of drawings and everything that goes in there. And to be honest with you, the ones that seem to struggle are the ones who don't do that.
Yeah, good point. Thank you, chaps. Before we move on to the site side of it in the yard, a question's come in. I think I'm going to get Wayne to answer this one though. So Wayne wants to come back on. Yeah, considering the current and predicting ongoing labour shortage and lack of potential scaffolders entering the industry, I'm of the opinion that training bodies are quite cartel-like and seem more interested in profits than quality training and accessibility to all. As a Yorkshire-based company, the country's largest county, Dodds County, I find it frustrating we do not have an established training centre. Does the NAC have any input or influence over this?
Well, the answer is yes, to a certain degree. Let's get off the table first the cartel-like and more interested in profits. All training centres, wherever they are independently run. That means we have to get individuals or companies or corporations to open the training centres, and they have to run them. And yeah, they have to run them to a profit, because you know we're in business and you're in business to make a profit, and they're the same. However, scissors, if we're a scissors training centre, and they will be, or the majority are, is that they're audited by scissors independently, just as other members are. They have to provide the right service. They have to make sure that they have the right training, their staff have the right training, and these centres have to operate within the guidelines. So therefore they follow very, very precisely what the scissors training procedure is for Part 1's advanced COTS and so on and so forth. So yeah, they do have to make profit. There's no doubt about it. We do have to try and convince independent companies and corporations to open in centres where we don't have them. We've got an operator who's was in North Wales that's opened a centre recently. I think it's in the northeast, if I'm right. We're always trying to plug gaps of where we are. But let's look at what the NASC. So that's the scissors side of it, and I'm a board member and a non-exec director of scissors as well. So we do relay that information, and scissors do try and plug them gaps as much as we can. We're fully aware of the skills shortage, not just in scaffolding, but across the construction industry. And a lot of my friends have businesses outside of the construction industry, and they have the same problems, no matter what industry you're in. Nonetheless, the NASC are doing other things as well to try and plug the gap. For example, our president's goals for these 2 years, David Brown, who's a managing director of IBN, a contracting member, is a big one is the grants that we're giving. We've given £300,000 worth of members' money, your money, if you become a member, where your subs are going, into a pot. And these training grants are for COTS, Part 1, Part 2's advanced, supervisors for scissors, military, taking military on. And these grants are coming straight back to the member, no matter what size of member you are. So the small members, the medium members, large members, if you do training within these areas and you get the qualification, or your employees get the qualification, you'll get these training grants. And 300,000 over a 2-year period is not an insignificant amount that we're giving back to members. The NASC is a not-for-profit organisation. That means the NASC, any money, surplus money the NASC makes, goes into benefits for the NASC. And if you do sit on the council, I'll harp on about it again because I've got an opportunity to. If you get to sit on one of the councils, you get to choose where the money's spent and how it's spent, and you get a vote and a right on that. So it's really important. So yeah, it's difficult to convince people to set up a commercial enterprise in an area where it's short, and Yorkshire being one of them. However, there are the grants there from the NASC that could help lessen the blow, if you like, for having to go out the area for completion of it. And these are on top of any CITB grant you might get. We don't take that into consideration. These are members' grants for being an NASC member. So hopefully that'll go to answer your question.
Thank you. Yeah, I think Alistair wanted to come in and say something. Alistair?
Well, again, Wayne probably covered it, but you mentioned at the start, Jamie, as well with the funding. And I just wanted to say that with linked with the CITB funding, some of the training is almost free, and the scissor supervisor in Scotland, for instance, if you take full advantage of the NASC funding, the CITB funding, I think a supervisor's card will cost you 25 quid. And particularly say Scotland, because some of the training's priced geographically for different reasons. So it depends, but I just think it's worth highlighting. That's how good some of the funding is.
Thank you. Yeah, Ian.
I think just to explain what I think one of the questions is, if you want to set up a scaffolding training centre today, you need to spare £200,000. So you've got to identify a building, you've got to get the material in there, you've got to set a system in there, you've got to get your classrooms organised, and you've got to get it all painted and looking the part. So you don't get much change out of £200,000. I know Yorkshire's a fantastic area, and there's been 3 training centres there over the last 20 years that I know of, with UTN, with the Ultrad one, and one that Mick Aston had in the Yorkshire area as well. And I'm surprised nobody's took up on that, but I think COVID and cash flow and things like that have got to be a factor for people not wanting to jump straight into Yorkshire. But I think £200,000 is, You know, it's okay with CITB. CITB can, you know, spend £1 million in Birmingham like they've done recently, but it's you've got to get it back. You've got to get it back. And if two companies are looking at Yorkshire, then all of a sudden it's a knife fight in a phone box, you know, to win the training. So you've got to, you know, you've got to look at it from that point of view. I hope that question's answered anyway.
Yeah, thank you, Wayne. Thanks, everyone. Right, so we'll now talk about the next part of the audit. So you've got your paperwork sorted. You've got your training. You've got your PAYE. You've got your qualifications. You've got your policies in place. I'm quite happy. I should have said at the start, you pay £500 for that whole process. Once we're happy with it, we'll then ask you for another £500, which is to cover the site and yard audit, which we're going to talk about next. So also all done automatically through the portal. Yes, everything appears to be okay. Please make payment. Everything is passed over to the auditor for them to then make arrangements with you at a time convenient to you. Availability wise, obviously we're going into summertime, but generally it's pretty quick. It's sort of within 2 to 3 weeks of the desktop being completed, the auditors out on site. Ian, talk a bit about the process when you first arrive. You arrange a date. You say I'll be there between 8 and 9 o'clock. You turn up on site. What's the first thing that you do as part of the site audit, the yard audit?
For the first thing for me is I check how easy it is for me to just walk into the building from wherever I am, and if I have to walk across wagons or forklifts or everything like that, because what we're looking for in the yard audit is we're looking for some sort of pedestrian walkway, or we're looking for a pedestrian gate. And sometimes you find that when you arrive, the main gates are open, a wagon will be pulling in or pulling out, and then I think if that's for me, what then about if there's somebody coming in there, you know, just looking to sell things, or somebody like the postman coming in. So I just look at what process you've got in place for that. And that's my first things. When I get through the main door, I normally start to see the notice boards, and I see if you've got health and safety law posters, insurances on the wall, any NASC membership, CHAS. And some companies have just the relevant information if they've got ISO. Some companies have got wallpapered walls with certification and things like that. And, you know, I have a good study of that initially, take a few photos, you know, and if it's got a good pedestrian walkway in, that's fantastic. And then I'll look at extinguishers, first aiders, first aid kits, because if you've got good signage at the beginning, it will tell me who the first aiders are and where the first aid kits are based and things like that. So that's sort of like 30% of the yard audit straight away. And
I'm right by saying that if you don't find any of those things to your liking, you don't fail the audit on that basis, do you?
No. I'll ask the question, and if they don't have them, I'll say, well, you know, could you do what every other company does, and we'll give you like 2 weeks to get them in place. Send us some photographic evidence when you've done it. Say if I go to a lot of companies that want to join the NASC, one of the big problems will be they'll say we've no design for our scaffold racks. We didn't know we need it. But what I would tell everybody who's on this meeting today, there's a great document called SG40, which is all about scaffold yards, and it's a free download, and you can get it and have a look at it. And if you're bunding diesel there to load your wagons up, and if you're, you know, using scaffies and all the things, it tells you about bunding, tells you about signage around your saws and things like that. So all of that is basically the criteria that I'm auditing to.
I think just one little point, I think SG40 is not free to download. It's free for members to download, but non-members have to purchase it.
Oh yeah, I didn't know that. I thought most of this guidance was free.
Don't give away all the keys to the...
Correct me when I'm wrong, you know. So,
yeah. What about Alistair? When it comes to the, you know, the things that you may have sort of wanted to see further information from the initial desktop that we've done, or things that you can't actually verify, like PAYE, until you actually get on site. What? How long does that whole process take, and what sort of things you expecting the applicant to have ready for you?
Well, you know, it obviously varies, Jamie, but I'll probably do the exact same as Ian, maybe just in a different order. But my preference when I go is to make friends with the office manager, because he or she is probably holding all the key information or knows where to go and get it. And that's my top priority when I go. Obviously, you'll get directors, finance directors, all these kind of people, health and safety consultants, they all want to be part of it right away. And if I'm honest, sometimes they can slow the process down because I just want to get the information that's missing and clarify that information. I think people need to realise the fact that we are there means that we already think something of them. You know, we know they're a good company, so we know the potential there. So we just need to get to the information that we need. So whatever it may be, I quite like. I know a lot of the guys maybe go back and forth by the email. I absolutely like to get out to site at the earliest opportunity to speak to people and talk to them, because I'm confident the information's there and we can get it. And if it isn't, as Ian says, we agree a time scale to get it into place. So
Yeah.
that's my kind of take on it at the early stages of the audit.
Who else is important? I mean, obviously that person in the office is key, who holds all the keys to the payroll, you know, where all the training cards are kept, things like that. The MD, would you need to see the MD there?
See, honest, no. I mean, there's sometimes they quite like to come and meet you and talk to you, and I quite often get a wee chat, just a wee overview or maybe some stuff they want to clarify.
It shows that they care if the MD is made available, doesn't it?
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
It's not integral to pass an audit.
Absolutely not. You know, I've had people travel from one side of the country. These multi-depot companies will travel to one side of the country to the other to be there to meet me, and I'll absolutely make a point of saying to them, look, you absolutely do not need to do that. You're welcome to, but the audit will, the form of the audit will not change. The outcome of the audit will not change whether you're there or whether you're not there. You know that, and that has to be clear. If they want to come, they still want to come, but as long as they know they don't have to, I'm usually happy. And one thing I quite like, there's one or two still old-fashioned people, I'll say, because it's all desktop, it's all computer-based. We are all computer-based. There's still one or two that they've got a massive folder, and they load all the documents. All the documents that are loaded into the portal, they load into this folder. And so when I go in, they'll put this big folder in front of the table, and they say, "There you go, Arthur, help yourself." And I do like that. I know I shouldn't, because it's not very green. You shouldn't be printing out that level of paperwork, but it is dead easy, because then you can just point to it, touch it, flick through it, discuss it if there's any questions over it. So I must admit, I know we shouldn't, but I do like to see it in front of me.
Yeah, I think people still like to print off things and have it, a physical copy of it. Yeah, what do they need to provide to you? Do you need a computer? Do you need anything like that?
No. So just a space to work, just a quiet desk space. Obviously, we totally understand that the needs of the business come first. We do not get in the way of any day-to-day operational stuff. Sometimes we make sure we arrange I fit in. We arrange the date and time. It's to make sure it's in suiting the business. We don't tell them we're coming this day or this time. It's a time, date to suit you.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
If you don't want us to come to your, I mean, everybody likes an early start. It's the access industry. That's what we do. But if you don't want me near your yard till 9 o'clock to give you a chance to get the guys going, that's fine. I won't come 9 o'clock. I'm okay with that, you know. So we make it suit the applicant.
And how a question's coming about how long does the audit process take? And I can answer that from cradle to grave, and I will. But the how long does the paperwork side in the office, Alistair? How long do you like to spend going through that?
Ideally, you're looking to get in the office, in and out the office within a couple of hours, hopefully even less, because the majority of stuff is on the portal, and so the more time I get that, the more time that's spent on uploading the quality of information that's required into the portal, the better.
Yeah.
But you can see some people have misunderstood it. There's the wrong document uploaded, and you know that the proper document is there somewhere. They've just misunderstood the question. They've just chosen the wrong file, and that's where rather than into a drama and email conversation, that's where I can make a decision. I'll take a view and say, well, I'm confident that that's there, and I'm happy to go and get this audit up and running. So, but any more than 2 hours, you're starting to push it.
That's right, Alistair. I try to be away by 11 o'clock at the latest. I try to be in the yard by 10:30, and I'll take photos, and it's for me. It's I'm on the. I want to be out to the sites by 11 o'clock. It's not always possible. Sometimes it extends to 12, but because I'm working around people who are coming back from site to take me to site. But I'd like to be out by 11. It's not always the case. So
no.
I mean, back onto you, Ian. You mentioned about the racks being designed, and that was something I want to talk about because it's quite important. But the whole yard audit, what constitutes a good, safe yard? Because I get a lot of questions like, well, what do you want to see in the yard? We don't have a criteria as such that's printed and available. We have the iAuditor questionnaire that we ask that the auditors use as the basis to ask questions, and they need to tick those to be green or advisories. You don't want any reds in there for non-compliance. But what are you looking for in a good yard?
You want me to give you a quick bullet point list? Okay, I'll keep it short and sweet on the bullet points. I'm looking for pedestrian access. I'm looking for a type of a traffic plan. I'm looking for material stacked nice and safe. Any quarantine material segregated and handrailed off or fenced off, so that anybody just can't come in and use any non-usable material. I'm looking for a good servicing area where you service fittings. If you've got any chemicals that you service fittings with, I'd like to see them bunded. If you've got a paint store, I'd like to see the paint cupboard, flammable liquid sign on with with the paint closed away. Some companies have a flam vault. Some companies have just basically a lockable locker. But if it's got paint in there and it's there, that's fine by me. I want to see cost assessments for your chemicals. I want to see they've been communicated. I just don't want to see a material safety data sheet. I want it converted into a cost assessment. From there, if you've any cutting of tube, or you've cut in wood and you've got a saw, if you're with wood, you want some type of dust extract method in place. You want some signage as well for the signage that the people should wear. On top of that, finally, I want some serviced extinguishers. I want some fork truck licenses. I want some service records for your fork truck. I want a lot of companies now do a Google Earth down on a plan for the building and blow that up and print it, put it on the wall and say, these are the fire escapes and things like that. I want to see a muster point. And probably, finally, I want to see some lights for when you work in winter. I hope that's enough.
Well, you want a lot of things there, Ian. Did you used to be that guy in Little Britain? I want that one. Was that you?
That was
the
me,
previous life? Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah. That was the days when I was in my wheelchair.
Yes, we don't talk about those days, but I think that was to the point. That was a lot of things covered. I think it's fair to say that they're quite obvious things that maybe because these scaffolding companies, members and non-members, they're there every day, and they could quite be guilty of walking past hazards because they're just there all the time. They don't necessarily see them. So you come in with a fresh pair of eyes and go, "Oh, have you seen that saw there?" Or you know, you got a ladder up there, but it's on the, you know, wonk or something like that, and you're there to sort of help them, aren't you? You're not there to catch them out. You're there to sort of point them the ways of being safe. And it should be seen as a real positive thing, rather than someone come in and look at my yards and make sure that, you know, they're going to give me a kick up the bum because I've not got my quarantine area sorted out. It's really important to have these things in place, because a happy yard and a good safe yard, it sort of gives you an idea that what you're probably going to find on site is also tidy and safe.
99% of the yards we go in are all good working yards, but they all need a tweak, that's all.
Yeah, and you don't need to have particular flooring down. I've heard people call me up and they say, oh, you've got to have asphalt flooring, or you've got to have cement down. I mean, you know, I've been with you, we've been up to our ankles in mud, haven't we? Yeah. So it doesn't, you don't have to have a particular type of flooring, do you?
No, if you don't have a good floor, apply for your membership in the summer.
Good tip. Yeah. Okay, and I will answer the question that's coming from Tom, which is how long on average does the audit process take? So the site audit, I think we've sort of made we talked about covered that it's a few hours in the morning and then it's out on site. You know, so you're talking 9 till 2 o'clock the actual day of the site audit. But the process, I mean, we've had audits being passed within 10-week period from the first day we hear about them that they're interested in joining to being accepted. It sometimes tends to take a bit longer because, you know, they need a few goes at it, or maybe even a second site audit at costs. But yeah, it can be as quick as 10 weeks. But I think we on average it's about 10 to 12 weeks. I think you find to join. But it's really, if you put in a pucker application that covers all the areas. And your site's good, then your availability and your auditor's availability is good, you can whistle through it probably. Let's try and beat 10 weeks, Tom. Maybe you could be our guinea pig and we'll get down to 9 weeks. Let's try that, shall we? Right, Alistair, how do you identify what sites to go to? How can, I mean, it's fair to say that the auditee will want to take you to their flagship best sites to show you the best scaffolds.
It's a boring conversation having to explain to them that I'm not really interested in the flagship site. You know,
why not?
Well, it's just that we kind of know where that is and what that is, and if you're keen to take me, we already know the chances are you're going to see very little. But what I'd rather do. I'm not interested. Rather, what I'm looking to do is I'm looking to see what you do day to day. I'm looking to speak to a few of your guys. I'm looking to get a feeling for who they are, what they do, what their attitude, things like that. So what I'm wanting to see is I'm wanting to see a list of your sites. I'm looking to see where your sites are, and I'll choose it. It's one of the things where I'm driving the audit at that point. You know, fair enough. You've got your ideas where you want to take me, and to be honest, and I have done it. I did it once, and I let them and miles and miles to see their flagship site, and they absolutely totally regretted it once we got there. So it's not worth the effort. It's just not worth the hassle. So I absolutely do not. I pick the sites. Give me a list of your jobs. What the type of work you're doing, where your men are working today, and let's go and see, and I'll tell you where I want to go and see.
So it's important to actually see a live site with operatives working, isn't it?
Absolutely. The one, and it's things again, and I don't mind it because nobody's perfect. But just when I was at just yesterday, and everybody was speaking to the scaffolder on site. I had the health and safety guy, I had a site supervisor, I had a manager with me, and they were all speaking to the scaffolder before I got to speak to him, and that was fine. And as soon as I went to introduce myself, you can see his harness was torn. And you're thinking, and it's just it's missed. It's just missed. They're not looking at it. Nobody's looking at it. and then I turn up with a fresh pair of eyes, and it's just jumps out at me, you know. And that's the kind of things why it's good to get the other sides. I want to know what the card the scaffolder's got. I want to know what kind of pressures he's under on the site. I want to know how many scaffolds are on the site. I want to know who's altering the scaffolds on the site. Things like that. Are they paying for man in attendance? Are they, what's happening on the site? And I want to understand all that. And you've only really got quite a short period of time to grasp of that. So so that's how I feel, and I do that by speaking to the guys that are actually on the site.
Okay, but formally in your eye auditor, what sort of things will you be assessing and marking against? Like the constitutes whether you pass and that's a good site, or whether sorry, we cannot accept that.
It's obviously the biggest thing is the quality of the structure that you're seeing. So and I'll say to people, I'm not really here. I'm not a scaffold inspector, but is that compliant? Is it not compliant? Is your RAMs available on site? As Ian alluded to earlier, that the work park, everybody's got a park now in the office with all their documentation in it. Is there a design available? Is there a compliance sheet available? Risk assessment, method statement, rescue plan. Do the scaffolders know the rescue plan? Because that's a kind of personal hate of mine, because they've all got the documentation. Do the people on the site that are reliant on that documentation, do they know it and do they understand it? Are they aware of its existence? Are they compliant with SG4, which is obviously a basic thing and it's a big thing, and I know a number of people work really, really hard to comply with SG4. And then all it takes is for one person to step out of line at the wrong time, and all of a sudden they're preparing toolbox talks for the whole company again,
Brilliant, thanks. So I think that pretty much covers the audit process. Any questions, people? Feel free to submit now. Wayne is still with us. We don't want to take up too much of your time, but it's important to give you the information. That's why we're here doing it today. But we can have this conversation with you another time. Our auditors are available to talk to you. I'm available. That's my job to talk to you, to help you to get ready for NASC. I'm going to just relaunch the polls. If you can just give us your answers. First question is, do you think now, after the summary of the process, do you think the application process is fair and transparent? So again, it's all confidential, so you can put no if you want to, if you don't think the application is fair and transparent. But please do engage with us, because we'd like to know more. We try to be completely open during this whole conversation, and tell you that in the past maybe things weren't done the best way, but certainly now. Second question is, would you like to apply for NASC membership? Yes or no? So please do answer that. Right, I'm going to end the poll and I'm going to share the results. And the findings are, so, that's a positive number, 88%. We'll take that. I was looking for 100%. So those who did submit, click no to that question. I would love to hear from you. I'd love to see how you think things could be improved and better. Would you like to apply for NASC membership is the second question. If you scroll down, and again, the same percentage said yes, they would like to apply. So that's brilliant. That's really good. I think it's fair to say the percentage has gone up from where we were at the start. No questions have come through. So Wayne, if you're still there, do you want to just come and say a final few words?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Great. Thank you. I'm really pleased with the auditors and the questions they've answered. They've been honest and candid, which is what today's about. With yourself as well, Jamie, about the process and how long it takes. Should you apply? I think it's worth reiterating, because the NASC has been going nearly 80 years. It's gone through some considerable changes in them 80 years, but so has our industry. I just want to finish on the NASC is here. It's an organisation that is run for the benefit of the members, and the members happen to be in predominantly scaffolding contractors. That's what it was set up to do, to provide standards and regulations to the construction industry. And the NASC is a body or an organisation that is here for all scaffolding contractors, independent scaffolding contractors. That's what we are. We're a network of independent scaffolding contractors that has a minimum set of standards. And it might seem even daunting after today with the site yard visit and the site visits and us not wanting your flagship sites and stuff. But let's just take this one message from it. If you're doing the right thing and going to work and building a business and working really hard doing that and protecting your business, then you want to protect your business. And the best way of looking at that is by having some sort of independent audit like the NASC does do, and giving you a badge and saying you're at this standard. You might be above that standard, and most actually are above the standard, but you are minimum that standard. So you can go to the principal contractors and the people you work for and say, I am this standard. The reason why we have the standard and what sets us apart from other organizations is if you work that hard to run your business with a straight bat, you want to protect that, and we want to protect it for you. So that's why we have these minimum standards, that everybody is playing on a level playing field when you're in the NASC. Obviously, there will be big organizations that are in there. That doesn't make them any better than a small organization. And taking on board the question early in the webinar, whereas a small contractor and the dizzy heights of the NASC awards, well, even the biggest contractor didn't start as the biggest contractor. They start normally as a small contractor and built their way up over many, many years, including my company. We started with 2 scaffolders 21 years ago, and we still entered awards. We still were in a category. We were still proud of being an NASC member and having this badge of minimum standards. And then by me getting involved, and everybody on the council and officers and directors, or non-exec officers and directors, we're not paid. We don't get 1 penny for our services. So me being here today, listening to this and trying to convince people that we do play with a straight bat and here's the clarity and here's the process, is that's our time that we're spending to grow our membership. Because without more members like yourself, we have no NASC, and we recognize that, and it's really important to us. But we need to protect our minimum standards and protect the industry that we're working so hard to do. Because I really wouldn't want somebody, not just in my area, but in Scotland or Northern Ireland or the Southwest, that was had an NAC badge that didn't come to them standards. So you can understand why the auditors audit the way they do and when they go around and what they're looking for. And to be quite frank, this is only stuff you're probably doing anyway, and you should be doing, because if you're not, then something's adrift, and you wouldn't be sat here for nearly 2 hours listening to us if you didn't care. So we care, we want you to care, and we want new members, and we want to show you guys and girls, which is the correct way of saying it, that is that we want you to be part of the NASC, and we want you to make the difference the same as the other members are. So thanks again, and thanks for your time. It's a big chunk of your morning, and hopefully we've gone a little bit further of telling you what we're about. But thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Wayne. I've put my email address and phone number in the chat for anyone who wants to contact me and talk more about this. And if you want to have a chat with Ian or Alistair or Wayne, just drop me a line and I can put you in touch with them. We are completely an open shop and available here to help you, members, non-members, the whole industry. So again, just to echo what Wayne said, thank you very much for your time today. There's no more questions. So we'll end it there. And yeah, have a good rest of your day. Thank you.
Goodbye, everybody. Thank you.